But our top story this evening, 24 people are confirmed dead now in the devastating cyclone that struck the eastern coast of India yesterday. While Odisha was luckier this time, the northern Andhra city of Vizag or Visakhapatnam has taken the brunt with the maximum damage and the maximum number of casualties. Our reporters now report from ground zero.
Vizag dealing with the morning after. Scenes of devastation all over the city. Damaged buildings, shattered windows, uprooted trees, resulting jams. Even cars turned turtle, hanging from trees. These houses at the Visakhapatnam beach, considered a premium location, took the brunt of Cyclone Hudhud, which made landfall nearby. Residents recall the horror.
कल पूरा घर बर्बाद हो गया। खुदा ने हमें बस बचा लिया, बस इतना ही काफी है, बच गए।
बहुत शीशा पूरा खिड़कियां टूट गए, पूरे हमारे फोटोआं सब गिर गए और पूरा बर्बाद हो गया घर।
At the Visakhapatnam railway station, things are equally bad. People have been stranded here since Saturday. But interestingly, a lot of railway stations across cities and towns off the belt of coastal Andhra Pradesh have actually used railway bogies as relief shelters.
Not only rail traffic, but mobility as a whole is a major collateral in Hudhud aftermath. The airport could be non-operational for days, roads remain blocked. Even the availability of petrol is an issue. Even the port at Vizag has suffered heavy damage.
कुछ भी नहीं बचा फिशिंग ट्रॉलर के लिए, कुछ भी नहीं बचा रोजगार के लिए, कोई गुंजाइश नहीं है कि अब 10 साल में खुलता है कि 5 साल में खुलता है कि साल भर में हमको मिलता है रोजगार, कोई गुंजाइश नहीं है। बड़े-बड़े शिपिंग कॉर्पोरेशन का जहाज, बड़े-बड़े जहाज डूब चुके हैं।
Headlines today also travel to Bhimunipatnam, the precise area where the cyclone made landfall.
People of Bhimunipatnam tell us that they had never seen or expected the kind of intensity with which Cyclone Hudhud actually impacted their lives. The kind of damage that has taken place is there on your screens to understand, assess. But what they're now saying is that now that the cyclone has hit them and has caused or rather wreaked havoc in their lives, they've not seen till now anyone from the administration come to meet them after that or provide them with any support. But that doesn't stop them from expecting them.
In comparison to Andhra, Odisha seems to have got off relatively easy this time. There are rains, there are winds, there is a flood alert, but the destruction has not been as heavy as seen in its southern neighbour.
Most of the people are here who are locals. The shops are shut. Almost everything is shut because of the wind and the breezy atmosphere here. The fact is that the locals are sitting here. Some of them have lost their houses. Some of them are being shifted to the relief centers. However, a lot are being moved back to their places, the residence places, because the damage in Ganjam is comparatively lesser to the other districts of the state.
Relief efforts are in full swing. Railways is running special trains between Bhubaneswar and Visakhapatnam. Special teams headed by senior IAS officers have been formed to deal with sanitation, power, crop loss, roads and drinking water issues. Food material is being transported from nearby areas. And to top it all, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be in the area on Tuesday afternoon to take a stock of the situation firsthand. With Ratnika Sharma, Manoj Loiwal, Jugal Purohit, Bureau Report, Headlines Today.
But perhaps the most dramatic image of the damage in Visakhapatnam has been to the city's airport. Built in 2009, the airport was virtually destroyed by Hudhud's fury. The runway is underwater, the roof of the airport has been ripped apart by the cyclone, and it could be days before commercial operations begin. What really went so badly wrong with a relatively new airport structure? We tried to find out.
That was Vizag Airport till 2 days ago, before the 205 km/h winds ripped it apart. Now the 5-year-old airport lies in tatters. Outside, the roof has been blown away and signages lie broken on the ground. Step inside and the scene is worse. The airport has been hit by a hurricane, literally. Seats ripped apart, counters smashed. The runway has been flooded, air traffic control tower also damaged. The winds have not even spared the aero bridges and other airline property. Nothing much left to be guarded. Needless to say, all air operations stand suspended.
It does not even look like an airport right now. All billboards, scrap metal fallen, looks like a scrap house. In fact, if you can see broken glass on the floor everywhere around, the corrugated tin roof just falling out of place. The airport now all dilapidated, absolutely unbelievable. People just cannot believe that the airport is looking like this.
I'm supposed to fly tomorrow at 8:50 to Delhi and then afterwards early in the morning next day to Moscow. But it looks like I don't have any opportunity for me to fly to Delhi and then to Moscow. And I don't know the first thing what to do.
I can understand that there is a total disaster and there won't be aircraft, I know that. But what I want to know from Air India man is that they has to tell me that when they are going to send me to Delhi.
It will be days before the airport, biggest in Andhra Pradesh, is expected to take wings. However, the runway has been operationalized for emergency relief flights.
You see the airport, how nothing is there in the top of the airport. Not only the water is there, like that all places are like that. I think we are trying to rectify as early as possible.
The rainwater on the terminal floor, broken roof parts, these scenes of total destruction. And out of commission Vizag Airport is a major blow to Andhra, especially as it is the international gateway for tourists and corporates alike. With Sanjay Singh and Ratnika Sharma, Shujoy, Headlines Today.
Okay, let's then come to that big question. The first big question we want to pose on News Today at 9, and that is the question of whether Vizag is a sitting duck. Is this city on the coast simply a sitting duck? Was it a sitting duck for Cyclone Hudhud? I'm going to be joined from Hyderabad with special guests in a moment, but I want to get a sense first on Andhra Pradesh. Why is Andhra Pradesh a state which consistently over the years has been a state which has been vulnerable to cyclones? What is the history of Andhra Pradesh? Shivarul gives you a sense.
Thanks, Rajdeep. Emergency relief teams have put the death toll so far in Cyclone Hudhud in both Odisha and Andhra Pradesh at just 10, thankfully, a much lower number than has been the case in many previous years. Take a look at what happened by virtue of Andhra Pradesh's location, its geographical location as far as weather activity in the Bay of Bengal is concerned. In 1977, considered the worst calamity of that decade, 10,000 people had died in Andhra Pradesh. Over 1 million homes had been destroyed. In 1996, just about 2 decades later, the death toll still a high number. 1,077 people had died despite many preparations, though 600,000 houses had been destroyed that year. In 1990, the death toll, 817 people, much more physical damage. 1.4 million houses had been destroyed at that time. In 1989, after extensive preparations, 232 people still died. At least 22 districts were affected at that time. And finally, in 1987, 119 people died. This year, so far, the official figure from state administration is 10 people who've died. That number is likely to go up as relief and rescue operations continue over the next few days. But it's simply because of the preparations that the government of Andhra Pradesh, the establishments have had to make. They've had no choice but to make those preparations to prepare for weather activity that happens every single year.
Shivarur, important point there. In the past, Andhra Pradesh, hundreds of people have died. This time, that death toll figure now up to 24. But fortunately, it's not been as devastating as in the past. But the city of Visakhapatnam has borne the brunt of Cyclone Hudhud. Jugal Purohit joining us from Visakhapatnam. Our editor South, T.S. Sudhir joining us from Hyderabad, and M. Shashidhar Reddy, former Vice Chairman of the National Disaster Management Authority, also there in Hyderabad. First to you, Jugal, give me the situation now on the ground. I'm told that the rains have relented. As a result, rescue operations are on in full. Is the city slowly limping back to normal?
Well, Rajdeep, in a sense, the feedback that we got from people is that there is perhaps no other alternative but to limp back to normalcy. And there are two quick points, Rajdeep, that I would like to make given the feedback I've got from people. The first is that in this situation that they find themselves in, the people are saying that, well, there are no casualties. That's fine, understandable. You've got advanced warning systems informing you about these events. But then why is it that even after, 24 hours after, basic supplies like milk, water, food, ATM machines are still not functioning?
Right.
Apart from that, we also visited a few of these areas where, people have actually lost a lot of homes, properties, documents, lives completely uprooted. They're saying we are not dead, but then we are devastated, we are destroyed,
Right.
and there's no one holding our hands. And Rajdeep, also, in this city of Visakhapatnam,
Can I for a moment turn to T.S. Sudhir, because I just want to get a sense though of what I believe was the defining image in a sense of the manner in which an airport, T.S., an airport built in 2009, in 5 years, a spanking new airport is almost completely destroyed. What does that suggest? You've been speaking to people who've been involved in the construction of such airports. Why was that Vizag airport so vulnerable to Cyclone Hudhud?
Well, Rajdeep, Vizag Airport has always been in the news for the wrong reasons. Even the old terminal building used to look like a pond or a lake with luggage trolleys floating like boats during the monsoon. And this time, this airport, as you said, built in February 2009, has come with an expiry date of October 2014. Now, the basic question that most experts say is that how can an airport in Visakhapatnam, which is bang on India's east coast, vulnerable to cyclones, not be aerodynamically viable? How is it that it cannot withstand wind speeds of about 180 to 195 km per hour? Because the aerodynamic design of an airport in a city like Visakhapatnam has to be obviously very different from an airport in a landlocked city like, say, Delhi or Hyderabad. So obviously some kind of compromise has perhaps been done there. Some kind of a serious investigation needs to be done on where actually the compromise was done, whether any kind of nuts and bolts were actually missing in this kind of entire system of tendering and some kind of compromises. And that is something which everybody will have to take very seriously as far as this disaster of a Vizag airport is concerned.
You know, Sashidhar Reddy, formerly of the National Disaster Management Authority, that's precisely it. Many believe that organizations like the NDMA, you have now put a SOP in operation, as a result of which deaths in such instances are lesser. The administration is forewarned. The Met Department functions better. Yet structures, building structures in a coastal city like Vizag, which has had a history of being hit by cyclones, many of these structures are simply not strong enough or resilient enough to be able to take on a cyclone of the enormity of Cyclone Hudhud. Would you concede that there are still serious problems that make a city like Vizag a sitting duck?
Well, I certainly feel that enough thought is not being given in terms of designing structures, disaster-resistant structure, depending on the vulnerability of the area. And in this case, cyclone is the most important, situated right on the east coast, which is highly vulnerable to cyclones. This should have been not only the airport, but I think many other structures need to have been better designed. And I think we need to look at this very seriously.
But no, you say that, but does the NDMA, does the NDMA at all look at it? Does the NDMA at all look at these issues? Are these issues looked at by the NDMA is the question?
No. I have led the efforts to come up with the national guidelines on cyclones and structural measures to ensure safe construction of buildings. Certainly a part of a chapter in this in these guidelines. Unfortunately, the guidelines have not been taken seriously by the states or by the government of India because they are not enforceable. We need to now, in spite of the Home Ministry in the past sending out model bylaws to the various states to amend their building laws, not much has been done. So this needs to be taken up very seriously. Up north, whether it's earthquakes or along the coast for cyclone and this kind of wind velocity, we are going to see more of this. Last year we've seen.
Can I interrupt you there?
200 kilometers and with climate change and all this.
So I take your point. I just want a final word from you, Jugal, because you are on ground zero. Are you getting a sense, though, that the airport will be ready in any time soon? Is it going to be a long time before the Visakhapatnam airport is in any condition to actually be viable for commercial aircraft? Quick answer.
Well, Rajiv, not before a week at least. In fact, that's been the question that a lot of people have been asking us. So it only goes to show just how curious everyone is, and perhaps even furious about the manner in which it turned out to be. But according to what we understand, the administration is not even willing to commit a week more. So it's anyone's guess that it's going to be obviously much more than that, Rajdeep.
Okay. T.S. Sudhir, Shashidhar Reddy and Jugal Purohit joining us there on our top story, our big story from Visakhapatnam. Clearly questions that have to be answered. Why is a city on the coast a sitting duck for a cyclone? Let's then turn to our other big story from the world of politics, the battle for Maharashtra. The curtains have been drawn on campaigning in both Maharashtra and Haryana, but the last leg of the battle, like the entire election, really has got personal. Allegations and counter-allegations flying thick and fast. Narendra Modi targeting the NCP and Congress, the NCP hitting back. Listen in, as it has become a battle between Modi versus the rest.
भाइयों बहनों, ये महाराष्ट्र को लूटने देना है क्या? पूरी ताकत से बताओ, क्या महाराष्ट्र बचाना है कि नहीं बचाना? महाराष्ट्र बचाना है कि नहीं बचाना है? अगर आज महाराष्ट्र बचेगा तो आपके बच्चों का भविष्य बचेगा भाइयों।
एक बारामती के 2 पेपर मेरे पास आए हैं, उनके पार्टी का ऊपर सिंबल है, नाम है, और एक बैंक को उन्होंने रिक्वेस्ट की कि इतने इतने इनको एडवांस दे देना। तो दोनों पेपर में जो अमाउंट आती है वो 1 करोड़ है, दूसरे भी पेपर में जो दोनों में मिल के अमाउंट आती है 1 करोड़ है। वो पेपर्स मेरे पास है।
ही लढाई महाराष्ट्राच्या स्वाभिमानाची लढाई आहे, तुमच्या आमच्या सर्वांच्या स्वाभिमानाची लढाई आहे। आणि मला हाच अभिमान आहे की आपले पक्षप्रमुख उद्धवजी ठाकरे दिल्ली समोर झुकले नाहीत, दिल्लीचे फरमान ऐकले नाहीत, दादागिरी मोडून काढली आपण त्यांची। तुम्हाला महाराष्ट्राचा मुख्यमंत्री हवाय की दिल्लीचा सेक्रेटरी हवाय? तुम्ही ठरवा, कोण हवं तुम्हाला?
मुख्यमंत्री असताना स्वतःच्या राज्याबद्दल प्रेम असणं हे स्वाभाविक आहे, पण पंतप्रधान झाल्यानंतर पुन्हा परत त्याच राज्याबद्दल आपलं प्रेम व्यक्त करणे हे मला असं वाटतं की हे पंतप्रधान म्हणून शोभा देत नाही। त्यांनी पंतप्रधान झाल्यानंतर त्यांची भूमिका बदलायला पाहिजे होती। माझी भूमिका नाही बदलली आहे, त्यांची भूमिका बदलली नाही म्हणून मला माझी भूमिका बदलावी